neighbors, my name is Michelle Paul. I am so excited that you're here. I'm starting this YouTube channel to glorify the Lord and share what He has been teaching me in His Word to hopefully encourage you and spur you on in your faith journey. I'm so excited to start with a more popular story in the Bible, the story of David and Goliath. I wanted to start with that because people are more familiar with the story, but I thought today we would shift the perspective and instead of looking at the characters of David and Goliath, instead looking at the stones in the story and how they reveal God's character and who He is through those stones. So through those stones, we're going to see four key areas where God is working. Number one, in David's past, that He has prepared David before to defeat this Goliath. Number two, in His present, that He is equipping David with those stones to deliver him from Goliath. And then the last part is that He has provided so abundantly that it actually affects David's future because of those stones. If you haven't read the story of David and Goliath in a while, you can find it in 1 Samuel 17. Definitely would encourage you to read the whole thing. It's 58 verses, so we're not going to get through the whole thing, but just to kind of set the stage, the Philistines and the Israelites are about to go into war, and this massive giant, Goliath, comes out of his camp, and he says, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. This day I defy the armies of Israel." And then it says, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. So basically, this happens for 40 days. Goliath continues to come out. He continues to challenge Israel, and nobody goes out to try to defeat him. So Goliath is saying, how about instead of all of this war and bloodshed that can happen, we just do one-on-one combat. So shepherd boy David now comes along to bring some food to his older brothers who are preparing for battle, and he hears Goliath, and he says, "What will be done to this man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" So already we see that David understands that this is not a battle between the Israelites and the Philistines, but it's a battle that the Lord is in. So David's just like, why does anyone care that this massive giant is saying something when we know that we can have complete trust in God to conquer him? And so David approaches the king and he says, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." And so King Saul is kind of like, David, you're really young, and this guy's been like a warrior from his youth. I don't think this is a great idea. And David says to him, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." So David's saying to the king here, look, the Lord, I have never fought Goliath, but I have fought Goliath-type things. I have fought the lion and the bear, and I have won. So this is a great time for us to really sit back and say, okay, I know I have a Goliath in my life. Maybe it's joblessness. Maybe it's health problems. Maybe it's depression. It could be a myriad of different things. But looking at that Goliath in my life, saying, I haven't come up against this before, but there have been lions and bears that I've seen before in my life, and I know that God has delivered me from them. So that's a great way for us to say, where has God prepared us before, and also allowed us to see His providential hand in our life so we can trust Him enough to conquer the Goliath that's in front of us. So Saul says to him, "Okay, man, like you can do this, but I'm going to give you my armor because I don't want you going into this fight alone." And so basically David tries on Saul's armor. It doesn't fit him. He starts walking around. It's comical almost. And he goes, "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in his shepherd's pouch with his sling in his hand, and approached the Philistine. I love this because David trusts the Lord to conquer the to conquer the Philistines, but he doesn't just walk into the valley of Elah empty-handed. He still grabs 5 smooth stones from the stream. He still grabs his sling. He still grabs his staff before he approaches the Philistine. And I love that because he's saying, okay, where are my resources around here? Where is my stream full of stones where I can gather them and put them in my shepherd's pouch? And I love that because God gives us resources. He gives us people who will speak into our lives. He gives us different access to different resources that we can defeat these Goliaths with. And he allows us to basically help ourselves based on what he has given us for tools to be helped by God. And so I just love that so much. And I love that Saul tried to help him. And that's such a good word too, because sometimes people will try to say, this is what worked for me. And so now I want to give this to you to help equip you in your battle right now. And you may kind of, try on your armor and say, this doesn't fit quite right. I appreciate it, but there's a stream over there. There's tons of stones. And I really think that God is going to provide me a way to conquer this Goliath with those stones, not your armor. And that's okay too. I think that's amazing that our community can really show us different ways to use God's resources to equip us and to help us be conquering these Goliaths. But sometimes what works for one person doesn't always work for you. So look for those 5 smooth stones that the Lord has guided you to. So as David walks towards Goliath, he says, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by the sword or spear that the Lord saves, but for this battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. I just am in awe of this. I love that David is still walking in there with his sling. He's still walking in there with his shepherd's pouch full of stones, but he is making sure that God is glorified. And he is also saying, literally the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel once I conquer you. And I just think that's so beautiful. When God is delivering us from things, how much are we making sure that we are praising his name and glorifying the work that he has done, instead of saying, oh yeah, I conquered this, really giving praises to the one who provided all of the resources, who provided the ways that prepared us before this to make sure that we're conquering this. Skipping down a few verses, we see here, so David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone without a sword in his hand. He struck down the Philistine and killed him. Obviously David wins, but obviously we know that it was really God who was preparing his way before even the 40 days. He was preparing his way for so much of his life already. He was equipping David with a stream nearby full of stones that were going to help him, and then he delivers him from his Goliath. And I just hope that that is your story as well. I really paused here and thought, okay, he only needed 1 stone to kill Goliath. So why did God provide 5 smooth stones from the stream? Those are times where I pause and I say, something's interesting here. Why would there be 5 smooth stones when they only needed 1? And I really think that's just the Lord providing abundantly. He's just saying, look, you only need 1. I'm going to give you 5 times what you need to make sure that you are able to completely conquer this Goliath. I just love that so much. God is so good. He's so faithful. He's so kind and generous and loving that he will abundantly give us what we need. So we will make sure that we know that this is a supernatural reason of love that we have conquered this Goliath. I just want to flip forward into the future a little bit here. To 2 Samuel 21. So this is when David is already king now. This is so many years later. And it says, once again, there was a battle between the Philistines and Israel. And Ishbi-Benob, one of the descendants of Rapha, whose bronze spearhead weighed 300 shekels, said he would kill David. But Abishai struck the Philistine down and killed him. In the course of time, there was another battle with the Philistines at Gob, and at that time, Sibbecai killed Saph, one of the descendants of Rapha. In another battle with the Philistines at Gob, Elhanan killed the brother of Goliath the Gittite. In still another battle which took place at Gath, there was a huge man with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. He was also descended from Rapha. David's brother killed him. These 4 were the descendants of Rapha in Gath, and they fell at the hands of David and his men. 4 more descendants from Gath. Literally, one was the brother of Goliath. Years later, and David and his men are conquering them. just really that idea that God provides so abundantly for us. So how can we make sure that we are overflowing with his provision and giving it to people who need it in order to conquer their Goliaths? I just thought that was so beautiful. As we go down one more verse, David sang to the Lord the words of this song: "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge. He is my stronghold, my refuge, my savior. From violent people you save me." David saying, Lord, it was never the smooth stones in the stream. It was always you. You were my rock. You were my fortress. You were my deliverer. And we can call upon God's name. He delights when we do. And we can say, Lord, I'm facing a Goliath right now, and I need rocks, but I need you to be my rock. And I want to trust in that. I want to trust that you are my fortress and you are my deliverer, and that you are the person in whom I take refuge. And I just want to encourage you that the Bible says we can call upon God's name, and then we can then sing his praises when he does deliver us. I really hope that this video encouraged you and spurred you on in your faith journey. If it has, please subscribe below to make sure you get notified every time a new video comes out, and follow me on Instagram at @_Michelle_Paul. Thank you, and looking forward to walking with you.